had 6 months to prepare ourselves, and we spoke to everybody that we could find throughout the world who'd flown the Mosquito, and we were amazed how many people who could still remember what it was like to fly the Mosquito. And of course George was a huge help to us, still very, very lucid, with a great memory of the aeroplane. But nobody had actually flown a Mosquito for some 20 or 30 years. We also read every single article we could find in magazines, books. We read accident reports, and believe me, there were hundreds of accident reports. And we came to the conclusion that it's a beautiful aeroplane, and what you've heard about the aeroplane is nothing but good, but it can also be really, really bad. There are some design faults in the aeroplane, but when we think about it, and we're talking 70 odd years ago, the tailplane was built quite weak, and the construction was quite weak. And if you look closely at the aeroplane, you'll see around the rear hatch there on the starboard side, there's a streak of wood above that. That was put on there after the aeroplane was first flown because it started breaking in that area. The aeroplane started, the construction started cracking. And also for that reason, I think the aeroplane was only fitted with quite a small rudder and fin, and no steerable tail wheel, or no lockable tail wheel. So it became apparent to us that we would have trouble, certainly in the asymmetric side of flying the aeroplane, and also with ground control, keeping the aeroplane under control on the ground without a locking and steerable tail wheel. So we'd read that people were having trouble on takeoff, keeping the aeroplane straight. So George came to our help then, and he suggested, he may tell you about it later on when he's teaching the Chinese to fly the aeroplane. They set quite a big power setting before releasing the brakes, and we set what we call zero boost, which is about mid-power, and the aeroplane tracked straight down the runway. So from then on, George was called Zero Boost, and it's worked fantastically. I'm sure you'll find from Mike the same. Because we considered ground handling to be the biggest problem of the operation, we spent probably 2 or 3 hours each just taxiing the aeroplane around Ardmore, getting used to the brakes, getting used to the tail wheel, getting used to the inertia, and so on. So when we finally got into the aeroplane, there was no problems at all. The other problem we anticipated, of course, was asymmetric flying. If we unfortunately lost an engine on one side, the procedure basically was almost a glide approach. I think the veterans here will be able to tell you that they probably lost more of their friends with asymmetric flying on training and on landing the aeroplane after losing an engine than they did during combat. The aeroplane is very vicious at low speed on one engine. No warning of a stall, it will just roll upside down in a split second. As well, on takeoff, between liftoff, which is about 120 miles an hour, up to 170, if you lose an engine, it's basically what it is, you're going to crash. It's just a matter of where and how controlled the aeroplane will be. So there are issues with the aeroplane. So with these in mind, for our first test flying and our test flying program, we decided on 3 or 4 issues. The first one was that we wouldn't shut our engine down during our training. We'd read lots of, during the test flying, sorry, we'd read lots of reports about the aeroplane practicing and crashing, of course, practicing one engine and crashing, and also not being able to start one engine after shutting it down. And then came the problem of landing it back at Ardmore, which is not a very big strip, or going somewhere rather larger. So we elected not to practice asymmetric flying anyway during our test flying program. Mike's done some, I'm sure you'll find out very shortly here in the States. We had great confidence in the engineers. The feathering systems worked really well on the ground. We'd seen the aeroplane being built, and the structure and the engineering side of the aeroplane really wasn't an issue for us when we were considering flying the aeroplane. The other thing we decided to do for test flying was have a chase plane, obviously, check undercarriage, leaks, that sort of thing. And that became very fortuitous. Dave did the first flight and he ended up with a static problem which gave him unreliable and no airspeed. Not a very nice situation to be in on your first flight, in a new airplane. And with a chase plane brought it back down. We also elected to go to Auckland Airport, which is an international airport, all the facilities, big wide runway, big long runway, much better than we were operating from out of Ardmore. They did warn us, of course, that if we broke the airplane on the runway, they'd bulldoze it off. So there were some issues there, added a wee bit of pressure. So once we decided how we're going to do the test flying and how we're going to approach it, we had lots of meetings, lots of talking, wrote a lot of stuff down. We approached the Civil Aviation Authority. They were magnificent in New Zealand. They were very, very helpful. We suggested we have 2 people on board the airplane the whole time to monitor instruments, help with bits and pieces, and that was a godsend for us. They were very, very helpful. And when finally when the day came, it really was a piece of cake. The airplane performed beautifully, exactly as we expected it to perform. And on the first day we both got it back in one piece without a scratch. We're quite proud of that. And then the following day we displayed it at Ardmore, and that was a huge occasion. We did 35 hours, I think it was, in the aeroplane, equally divided, and it gave us really no problems at all. Very, very minor stuff. We had a circuit breaker, had a rad door inside, didn't close one day. We had the ASI problem, but that was it. It was a huge testimony to the expertise of the engineers. They did a magnificent, magnificent job. And without, of course, mentioning, I couldn't finish without mentioning Jerry. He was so generous the whole way through, particularly in New Zealand. He said to us, take it to air shows, take the engineers for rides. We're able to take our wives for rides. So, I mean, so many people around who give us that sort of encouragement and help. So it's been a wonderful experience for us in New Zealand. It was a huge hit down there, and I'm sure you'll have the same experience here in Canada. Thank you.